If you've recently had a moment when you refused to stay quiet about something, your guardian angels want you to know that somebody in your life witnessed that side of you, and they can't stop thinking about it. This person never expected you to act the way you did, especially since they thought you'd be too afraid to speak your mind in such a difficult situation. The angels say they previously had their own idea of who you were. Perhaps they saw you as someone who avoided conflict, someone who carefully picked their battles, or maybe even someone who preferred to keep the peace rather than disrupt it. But what they failed to realize is that even those who prefer peace have limits. Even the quietest voices can rise to command a room when the moment calls for it. And maybe that's exactly what happened. Maybe you reached a breaking point, a moment where staying silent was no longer an option, where your truth became louder than your hesitation. That moment wasn't just about proving something to them. It was about proving something to yourself. You might not have planned to stand your ground the way you did, but something inside you refused to back down. Maybe it was a fire you hadn't felt in a long time, a surge of confidence that caught even you off guard. That's the thing about strength. It often reveals itself when we least expect it, in moments we never anticipated. And when it does, it leaves a lasting impression, not just on those around us, but within ourselves. But in that moment, when everything was on the line, you proved them wrong. You stood your ground. You spoke up for yourself, for what was right, for what truly mattered. And now, they're seeing you in an entirely new light. What was it that pushed you past the hesitation? Was it the realization that no one else was going to say what needed to be said? Was it a deep sense of fairness, of justice, that refused to let you stay silent? Or was it simply an instinct, an unshakable knowing that if you didn't stand up in that moment, you would regret it? Whatever it was, it mattered. It shifted something in you, just as much as it shifted something in them. And now, they can't unsee it. They can't forget the way you held your ground, the way your voice didn't waver, and the way your presence demanded attention in a way they never expected. Whether they admired it or felt unsettled by it, one thing is clear: they will never look at you the same way again. I repeat, they never expected you to act the way you did, especially since they thought you'd be too afraid to speak your mind in such a difficult situation. And maybe deep down, even you didn't expect it. Maybe there was a time when you would have stayed quiet, when you would have convinced yourself that it wasn't worth the trouble. But not this time. This time, something in you refused to shrink back. Something in you recognized that your voice deserved to be heard just as much as anyone else's. And that is a shift that cannot be undone. Now the question is, what does this mean for you moving forward? If you found that strength once, doesn't that mean it's always been inside you? That it's not just a rare occurrence, but a part of who you are. What else could you accomplish if you leaned into that confidence more often? If you let yourself embrace the power of your own voice without hesitation? There is a certain power in defying expectations, in showing the world and yourself that there is so much more to you than what people assume. Maybe you weren't even sure you had that strength in you until the moment demanded it. But you did. And now, this person is left questioning everything they thought they knew. And that's the thing about real strength. It doesn't always announce itself ahead of time. It doesn't always come with a warning or a slow build-up. Sometimes it just appears when you need it most, when the stakes are high and the choice is clear. And when it does, it changes everything, not just for the people watching, but for you. Because once you've seen that side of yourself, once you've felt the power of speaking up and standing firm, it's impossible to go back to who you were before. They didn't doubt you out of malice. Rather, they had unknowingly placed you in a box, seeing only a fraction of what you're capable of. Maybe they thought you'd hesitate, that fear would hold you back, or that the weight of expectations or past hesitations would keep you silent. But when the moment came, you rose to the challenge. And now, they are beginning to realize just how much more capable you are than they gave you credit for. And that realization, it lingers. It stays with them long after the moment has passed, because it forces them to rethink everything they assumed about you. Maybe they're replaying your words in their mind, trying to understand where that strength came from. Maybe they're feeling a sense of admiration, or maybe even discomfort, because your courage challenged them in ways they weren't expecting. Either way, they can't ignore it. And neither can you, because now that you've stepped into this power, there's no going back to the way things were before. You've seen what you're capable of when you refuse to shrink, when you refuse to be overlooked or dismissed. This isn't just about one moment, it's about what comes next. Will you let this be a one-time occurrence, or will you continue to show up in your life with this same unshakable confidence? Perhaps this moment made them respect you in a way they hadn't before, or maybe it forced them to confront their own assumptions, their own underestimation of you. Either way, something shifted between you and they can't ignore it. They might not say it outright, but their view of you has changed, and whether they admire you for it or struggle to accept it, one thing is clear: they see you differently now. So now the question is, what will you do with this newfound understanding of yourself? Will you retreat back into the version of you that others are comfortable with, or will you continue to own your voice, your presence, your impact? Because this moment wasn't an accident. It was proof of what has always been possible for you. And the more you embrace that, the more unstoppable you become. The reason guardian angels come to you today with this message is because they want you to embrace this fact about yourself. You are not defined by who you used to be, nor by how others perceive you. You have the strength within you to rise in ways even you might not expect. And the next time you face a moment like this, remember, you've already proven that your voice is stronger than fear. This concludes the message from your guardian angels. I want to end with a prayer for you. Lord, let them embrace the strength you have placed within them, the fire that rises when truth must be spoken. Remove any lingering doubt that tempts them to retreat into silence, and replace it with unshakable confidence in the power of their own voice. May they walk forward knowing that the courage they found was never fleeting, but a glimpse of the boldness you have always seen in them. Amen. Take a moment to let that truth settle in. And remember, the courage you showed wasn't a one-time thing. It's a part of who you are. Type 444 to claim this message and the blessings inside for your own. Try and leave a positive comment for other viewers who might need a positivity boost in their day. The universe sees it as an act of kindness that fuels the cycle of good karma. You'll be spreading positivity and receiving the universe's blessings in return. Let's uplift each other and create waves of good energy together. I also want to pass on a time-sensitive message from the moon to you, and you need to hear it today. A subtle yet powerful energy will push you to make a critical decision by the end of the week. You won't find the answer in your horoscope, so don't bother looking there. Click the link in the description to see your free personalized video moon reading. I was amazed at how accurate my reading was, and I know you will feel the same. An important message is waiting for you in the next video. Will you hear it?